One book can change the entire course of a life, and with millions of published books every year, picking the wrong one is easy. So, to help you narrow your selection, I'm going to share 21 books that completely changed the way I think. Let's start with one of the simplest but most powerful stories I've ever read. Jonathan Livingston's Seagull is about a seagull who refuses to live like the rest of the flock. While others settle for survival, Jonathan wants freedom. He pushes himself to fly higher, faster and further than anyone else dares. It's not really about birds, it's about us, about daring to live outside the box, chasing excellence even when no one else understands you. So I read this book this summer, and it was really a reminder for me that growth really comes from breaking limits. So the key takeaways from this book is to dare to be different. Measure yourself against your potential, not the crowd. Explore the edges of your own potential. And remember, when you rise, you inspire others to rise too. Let's move on to book number 2, Frames of Mind by Gardner. Gardner introduced the idea of multiple intelligences, showing us that intelligence isn't just IQ. We are all intelligent in different ways. So whether that be music, art, movement, or people skills, we're all intelligent in different ways. So reading this book really reframed how I think about talent. So it's not about fitting into one box, it's about discovering which kind of intelligence is uniquely yours. So here are the key takeaways from this book. Don't limit intelligence to test scores. Discover your unique type of intelligence. Respect different strengths in others, and design your life around what you do best, not what society says is smartest. Once you know your kind of intelligence, the next one is mastering it. And this leads us to the third book, which is Mastery by Robert Greene. In this book, Robert Greene explores how history's greats, from Leonardo da Vinci to Darwin, achieved excellence, not overnight, but through years of apprenticeship, practice and deep focus. So this book really crushed the myth of natural talent for me. So what I learned is that mastery is earned, not given. So the key takeaways from this book is to choose a field that fascinates you. Commit to the long apprenticeship. Practice deliberately, not lazily. And remember, mastery isn't about luck, it's about patience. So next up we have probably the most famous self-improvement book there is out there, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. So this book is pretty controversial, but it is so eye-opening. This book is really about understanding all of the power games that are being played around you. And these power plays are often invisible, and it is your job to see it. So reading this book didn't make me a Machiavelli. It made me aware of all of the power that is around me. And it is better to see it clearly than to be blind. So this is the key takeaways from this book. Recognize power dynamics. Don't be naive about people's motives. Use power responsibly. And above all, protect yourself by understanding the game others are playing. Alright, so the fifth book is another book by Robert Greene, and it's called The Daily Laws. So in this book he distills wisdom from all of his books into daily wisdoms, you can call them. You will find lessons on power, human nature, seduction, and many other subjects. So this book isn't just a book that you read once. It's a book that you live with, reading one page a day. There is really no specific key takeaway from this book than to just sit down every morning with a cup of coffee and just reflecting on the wisdom that he shares in this book. Really recommend this one. Book number 6, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. His reminders are timeless. Control your mind, accept what you can't control, and treat others with fairness even when they fail you. Before this book, I thought that Stoicism was all about suppressing emotions. Now, however, I see that it is about mastering them. So the key takeaways from this book is to focus only on what's within your control. Let adversity shape your character, and that you have to act today with integrity because tomorrow isn't promised. Alright, so book number 7, and this book isn't a fun one to read, but just read it. It's called The Wisdom of Life by Schopenhauer. So in this book the author argues that happiness doesn't come from wealth or fame, but from who we are inside. Money, status, or possessions don't last, but who you are inside does. So this book shifted my perspective from chasing success to focusing on what actually brings lasting fulfillment. The key takeaways from this book are the following. Value inner character above outer possessions. Invest in wisdom and perspective. Stop comparing your life to others, and seek peace, not just applause. Book number 8, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So I read this book this summer, and it was such a beautiful book. The story is about the author's experience in Nazi concentration camps. Stripped from everything, he discovered that the ultimate human freedom is the ability to choose your attitude. Life isn't about pleasure, it's about meaning. If Viktor Frankl could find purpose in the darkest conditions, then we can find it anywhere. So the key takeaways from this book is that meaning comes from purpose, not pleasure. Suffering can be reframed as growth. Attitude is your final freedom. Book number 9, Ikigai. The concept of purpose in Japan is best represented by something called Ikigai. a Japanese philosophical term meaning reason for being or a life worth living. The book demonstrates the overlap of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. So here are the key takeaways from this book. Find something you love, something you're good at, something the world needs, and something you can make a living from. When these four overlap, you have found your Ikigai. It's about balance, daily joy, and living with purpose instead of burnout. Book number 10, Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. Morrie is a dying professor and he shares his life lessons with his student every Tuesday. So this book is really tender, heartbreaking, and wise. And what struck me the most is that clarity comes at the end of life. It taught me that when time is short, only the essentials remain. So the key takeaways from this book is to love openly, prioritize relationships, detach yourself from shallow pursuits, and listen carefully to those who have lived long enough to know what truly matters. Book 11, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Sharma. So this book is about a lawyer who trades his material success for spiritual growth. He sells his Ferrari and becomes a monk. So this book was the first self-improvement book that I've ever read. And it got me asking, what am I chasing that doesn't really matter? The key takeaways are to simplify your life, don't confuse wealth with fulfillment, focus on inner clarity, and sometimes letting go brings the most freedom. Book number 12 is another book by Sharma and it's called The 5 a.m. Club. The lesson is pretty simple. Wake up early, own your morning, and you will own your day. So I always thought that mornings were just routine, but this book actually showed me that waking up early can be really transformational. So here is the key takeaways. Start today before the world does. Dedicate time to body, mind, and spirit. Protect your mornings from distraction and win the first hour to win the day. I'm gonna be honest with you, there's one part that I haven't implemented into my life yet from this book, and that is to move my body in the mornings. But what is true though is that I actually go up very early in the mornings, usually between 5 or 5:30 a.m. Spending time alone with myself and my thoughts in the morning really sets the tone for the day. So I really recommend you to read this book and start to wake up early. I need some water before we continue. Let's go. Book 13, Steal Like an Artist. Okay, so this book is about creativity. Steal Like an Artist is about how originality is overrated. Everyone steals, including legends. Let's take Michael Jackson for an example. His dance moves was inspired by Fred Astaire and James Brown. He didn't really invent them himself. He took inspiration from these guys and added his own spin to it. And by the way, it is very hard to compare yourself to Michael Jackson because he was a genius. But the point that I'm trying to make is that even legends have taken inspiration from greats before them. Every idea is a remix. What matters is transforming what you take into something new. So this book really gave me permission to create without fear of being unoriginal. So the key takeaways from this book is that nothing is truly new. Collect ideas widely and transform them into your own voice, and embrace influence instead of running from it. So book number 14 builds on this. The Medici Effect by Frans Johansson. So this book shows us that real innovation happens at intersections. Intersections where disciplines, cultures, and ideas collide. This reframed how I think about creativity. It's not about staying in your own lane, it's about exploring new lanes and really taking in inspiration from different fields. The key takeaways from this book is to seek diversity of people and ideas, stepping outside your bubble, combine fields for breakthroughs, and that innovation thrives where worlds overlap. Book 15, The Birth of a Brand by Brian Smith. If you're not familiar with who Brian Smith is, Google him. He is the founder of the Ugg boots. I think it's called the Ugg boots. Well, anyways, this book is not a glossy story of instant success. It's raw, messy, full of doubts and setbacks. It's about how he built the brand Ugg. And if you want to become an entrepreneur one day, this is definitely a book that you have to read. Because entrepreneurship isn't easy. It is hard. So the key takeaways from this book is to start small and stay persistent. Don't fear failure. It's part of the process. Share your authentic story. And lastly, success is less about perfection. It's more about persistence. Book 16, The Millionaire Fastlane by DeMarco. I am a believer in, building wealth over time. Warren Buffett strategy. But this book kind of smashed my old view of wealth as well. So instead of saving for 40 years, this book shows us how building scalable value creates freedom faster. And to break it down, it's about working smarter and not harder. The key takeaways from this book is to don't trade time for money. Build assets that scale. Take control of your financial lane and pursue freedom, not just a paycheck. Book 17, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So in this book, Robert Kiyosaki is basically explaining two fathers. One who works for money and one who makes money work for him. And the overall key takeaway from this book is to buy assets, not liabilities. Book 18, The Richest Man in Babylon. So this book is also about money, and it shows that the rules of wealth haven't really changed for thousands of years. Save consistently, invest carefully, and let the time work for you. So this book reminded me that money doesn't need to be complicated. Save a little bit every month for the rest of your life, and then hopefully one day you will become rich. So the key takeaways from this book is to pay yourself first, live below your means, and make your money work for you. Wealth isn't built overnight. It's built through small habits repeated daily. Book 19, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So Napoleon Hill studied hundreds of successful people and found patterns: desire, faith, persistence, and imagination. So this book really drilled into me that mindset is the foundation of all achievement. You have to rewire your brain that everything is possible, that you can achieve everything. So the key takeaways from Think and Grow Rich are the following. Success begins in the mind. Hold a clear vision, persist through setbacks, and align your thoughts with your goals. Book 20, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. So I read this book this summer and it was a really short book. I think it was like 99 pages or something. But the overall message that this book brings was very impactful. This book is about a fisherman's struggle with a giant marlin. So on the surface it's about fishing, but this book is really about dignity, struggle, and the human spirit. This book reminded me that victory isn't always about winning, it's about the fighting. The key takeaways from this book is to endure with dignity, value effort over outcome, respect nature and struggle, and that meaning often lies in the battle, not the prize. Definitely recommend this book. Alright, so we are at the last book, book 21, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So this book is about a shepherd boy who follows his dream to find treasure, only to discover that the treasure was within him all alone. This story is about destiny, faith, and the beauty of the journey. You have to enjoy the journey that you are on. This really is my all-time favorite book, and the kind of core message with this book is that life's greatest treasure isn't out there, it's within yourself. Look within your heart, that's where you will find your treasure. So the key takeaways from this book is to follow your personal legend, trust the process, listen to your heart, and enjoy the journey. Alright, so that was 21 books that changed my life. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books, and as always, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.